Looking for these better days.
It is Wednesday, February 4th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. It is the NBA trade deadline, 3 o'clock Eastern time this afternoon, but a slew of deadline deals were made yesterday. We'll break down all of them and what futures bet is the best bet to be made right now. Mackenzie Rivers joins me on this episode of Better Day, presented by FanDuel. And Mac, let's talk about the biggest trade that went down yesterday. James Harden to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a swap for Darius Garland, a couple of other pieces as well. But what do you make of this trade from both sides for the Cleveland Cavaliers and for the LA Clippers?
I hate to be this guy, but I love it for both teams. I really do. I really think you can look at both situations and look at the risk of not making this deal and the potential, if albeit potential benefit of if this works out. And I think it makes a lot of sense. The Cavs, let's take the Cavs first. Yes, James Harden has a terrible playoff record, and your problem has been not going far enough in the playoffs. I would venture, though, that James Harden has also had some good playoff moments. Sure, he's had, a litany of terrible ones. Some that come to mind is last year, 7 points in Game 7. 2018, Game 7 versus the Golden State Warriors, 9 points, 0 for 6 threes. There's 15 of them. But what did the Cavs not do well? And that's offense. That's offensively. When Donovan Mitchell gets tired, we saw it in last year versus the Pacers. When he had a great series, they couldn't make up for that. And Darius Garland hasn't been out there. He's negative and a half point by EPM in this season, coming back from injury. And last year, after he came back from his injury, he wasn't out there at all. So if you need one offensive engine that can keep you alive when Donovan Mitchell's tired, I think James Harden's a great option for a guy that's not playing at all this year, who has proved not to be the best fit with Donovan Mitchell. So that I understand it from the Cavs side. Maybe they'll strike lightning in a bottle. They'll get offense. I like it even more for the Clippers, because the Clippers do not need what James Harden brings to the table. We talked about this the other day. They are a tight unit with lots of offensive options, and maybe the last month, the third or fourth best offensive option in the league in Kawhi Leonard, as well as he's been playing. So you get rid of, the bad memories of last year's Game 7 and all that with James Harden. And Darius Garland's young enough where, maybe not right now, he's not as good as James Harden, but last year he was better than James Harden. And if you just expected his 5-year trajectory, he would be better. So I think it makes a lot of sense for them too. I understand how it might be kind of hedging to say that, but I really do think because you weren't going anywhere with the Cavs and you weren't going anywhere with the Clippers, this gives you a chance to go a lot further than you would have gone for both teams.
For me, I made the joke yesterday. I texted Gio. I also texted our community chat that maybe now the Clippers will win a title because James Harden's gone. I've been called the James Harden hater. I will always fade his teams in the postseason, and so far it's never lost. Maybe this is the best news for the Clippers without James Harden now, but this is certainly an interesting move by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and now we look at the odds up on FanDuel to win the NBA title. The Oklahoma City Thunder are still the favorite. They are plus 125. The Denver Nuggets are your second favorite, at plus 700, followed by the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Cleveland Cavaliers at 11-1. So the Cavs tied for the third favorite to win the NBA title, Mackenzie.
Wow. Not shocking when you think about where they were last year as a 64-win team, but this year they've been quite disappointing. I thought I'd get better odds than that for the title, but what are the Cavs to win the East?
To win the Eastern Conference, they are the favorite at plus 280.
Okay. I actually think that's the right adjustment. The market, the populace doesn't love James Harden, but the market's going to say this guy's worth 3 points to the line. Mm-hmm. You went from a guy that's not playing to having James Harden. And I did this query, just looking at their playoff run in the post-LeBron, Donovan Mitchell era. They've obviously been very disappointing in the playoffs, 11-17 ATS. But if you break it up between offense and defense and what Vegas expects, their defense has been good, holding opponents 1.5 points below expectations over those 18 games. Their offense, 2.5 points below expectations. So if they didn't need young player. They didn't need a defensive player. They need the possibility of being much better on offense. And Donovan Mitchell played about as well as he could have last year in the playoffs and so far this year, and they still needed something. I think it was the right move by them, and they're going to get killed for it. James Harden's a very easy guy to hate, and when you have 7 playoff games where you're under 10 points and 5 turnovers in the most important game of your season, yeah, people are going to remember that. But hope springs eternal. Maybe for us, it's going to work, says the Cavs.
Well, let's talk about the other trades that went down yesterday. The Celtics getting Nikola Vucevic from the Chicago Bulls in a part of a deal that sends Anthony Simons to Chicago. What does this do now for the Celtics? And could this actually help possibly a Jason Tatum return at some point?
It's funny that you say that. This is a 1-year deal, so it makes him more flexible for next year. So even without Jason Tatum, the deal kind of makes sense. That's why they got Anthony Simons to have a trade pick. But to trade for a center, an old center, when you could have got a lot more assets out of Anthony Simons from people that need a viable guard, it tells me they're really interested this year. And the Cavs being the favorites in the East, even though they're like 25-20, is pretty telling. There's no good team in the East. The Knicks have been struggling. The Cavs have been struggling. The Pistons are unproven. This tells me the Celtics are going for it. They think they were a laughing stock at the front court to start the season. Keita, some of their guys have been better than expected, but they still needed a legitimate big, and they got it. And they got it for this year only, which tells me it's not anything like a off year. They are going for it.
Yeah, so maybe they expect Tatum to make
What
a
are the
return.
Celtics to win the East?
Celtics to win the East are the 4th favorite plus 400.
Yeah, that's tight. That's the 280 and 400 are very close bets. It's like 63 or like 33% and 25%. So that shows you what the market thinks.
Yeah, Cavs plus 280, Pistons plus 360, Knicks plus 360, Celtics plus 400.
I kind of like everybody but the Pistons.
Yeah. The other trade that went down yesterday that was a little bit surprising. The Memphis Grizzlies sending Jaren Jackson Jr., as well as a bunch of other players, to the Utah Jazz for a group of players and 3 first-round picks. This is, part, I don't know, the second or third. No, I mean, this is, the Grizzlies are tearing it down, right? Right. Desmond Bane goes to Orlando. Now Triple J goes to Utah. Eventually, like maybe today, John Morant's going to get traded, right? So this team is just tanking, and they're going to get ready to have a high draft pick this year. But Utah, like, what are they doing right now? What is Triple J worth this?
No, I don't think so. I don't think many people in the NBA do. So the picks aren't all Utah's. They're going to send the Lakers 2027 picks. Well, that's not the best pick. The more favorable of the first rounders between Utah, Cleveland, and Minnesota, and then Phoenix. So none of Utah's own picks, so despite how terrible they are, that won't actually benefit the Grizzlies. That said, they're terrible enough where all assets, you would think, should be long-term focused, for like AJ Dembélé focused. Jaren Jackson has always been a divisive player. He's a 6'10 power forward that's great defensively, but doesn't rebound for his size at all. I guess eventually, I mean, Brady's had such a long time with the Jazz as this excellent coach that's never actually like tried to win. So I guess Danny Ainge is pulling the trigger thinking, all right, now we're going to start turning it around. It seems like a huge price, though. Just a huge price for Jaren Jackson Jr. I mean, Danny Ainge must be in the 2 percentile of believers in this guy. Very divisive player in the NBA community.
Yeah, pairing him up with Lauri Markkanen and Keontae George, and we'll see what they do in the offseason as well. I know a lot of part of these trades, too, is like you get these like trade exemptions or whatnot. Like I know like Memphis now has like $29 million or something. Like I don't get it. Like Bobby Marks can explain all of that. That's like well beyond me. But from just an on the court perspective, it's 4 years ago, right? That they traded away. The Jazz did Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
and now trying to be competitive again with one of the best rim protectors in all of the NBA and Jaren Jackson Jr. But Does a rim
But
protector
when has
make
a
you a star?
franchise
Yeah.
when has a franchise ever turned themselves around by getting like the 20th best player in the league? And it's like, okay, now we're legit.
Hmm.
I mean, Lauri Markkanen probably plays the same position and is like similar in people's expectations as far as the best power forwards in the league, like fourth or fifth. He's good. I really don't see them being competitive in the West this year, next year. Like not with this move. It's not
Hmm.
enough.
What do you think of the Bulls' moves? Because the Bulls made a bunch of moves yesterday. Another one that does not. I mean, get talked about a lot. But Jaden Ivey goes to the Bulls along with Mike Conley. Pistons getting Kevin Herter, Dario Saric, and a first-round protected swap from Minnesota.
Bulls are 24 and 27. Bulls fans for the last 15 years have complained we're never in the most expensive teams, we're never in the least expensive teams, we're never the worst teams, and we're never the best teams. This gives them some upside, but it's not exciting. Anthony Simons is not going to be the game changer for the Bulls franchise. It just seems like they're printing money there in the United Center, and this it makes it much more unlikely they're going to be terrible getting some of these assets, but they're not going to be good.
So the deadline's at 3:00 Eastern time today, Mackenzie. What is the next move that you are expecting to be made? Do the Warriors trade Draymond Green? Does John Morant go somewhere from Memphis? LeBron has everyone's saying that LeBron's staying with the Lakers. Like no one's expecting LeBron to be traded. What is the next move that comes down later on today?
The easy answer is John Morant. By the way, we should never believe franchises anymore when they say we're not tanking, we're pivoting. Because once Desmond Bane fell, we knew Morant was going to be gone. We knew Jaren Jackson was going to be gone. But I'm going to do a little more bold of a take. Giannis Antetokounmpo walks into the Chase Center later this month as he has been traded for Draymond Green and a bunch of assets and Jonathan Kuminga. The fact that his name has been floated, that's the first time I've heard it, and I think the only reason we're getting that smoke is because there is fire there. He makes enough money to make the pick work or make the trade work, and he hasn't been a plus NBA player, in my opinion, in 2 years. So Draymond Green's gone, Giannis is in. The Warriors have one last shot with Steph.
Wow.
You heard it here first.
Well, I was looking at one of the prediction markets last night, and it said that he's 50% to not be traded, right? 22% to the Timberwolves, 11% to the Warriors. What do you think about the Timberwolves pulling a trigger for a deal?
Timberwolves make sense. I mean, if Rudy Gobert is on his last legs or if he's included in the trade, that's just like you can have Giannis in more of that defensive role, which he used to excel at. It used to be like, wow, look at this defensive player that can pass before he became Giannis. I think he's been doing too much, and he could benefit from being on a team like the Timberwolves where he's not asked to do as much.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch. Let's take a look at the games for tonight in the NBA, which could be affected by some trades, Mackenzie. We'll start with the Denver Nuggets at the New York Knicks. The Knicks 5-point favorites after blowing out the Wizards. The Knicks will host the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, 7 in a row now for the Knicks. I think something about this trade deadline might have galvanized the troops. I lean to the Knicks here. The Nuggets, though, they're scrappy. They seemed they were getting blown out by the Pistons. They ended up covering the spread last night.
Yeah, but I also think that if both teams are playing on the back-to-back, I'd rather the team that had the easy cakewalk of a game than the one that had than the one that had to battle and come back. And you mentioned like Jokic being like a shell of himself, right? He did play 33 minutes last night, scored 24 points with 15 boards. How effective is he on the second of a back-to-back? Does he even play tonight on the second of a back-to-back? So something to keep an eye on. Knicks -5 right now up on FanDuel. Timberwolves are 1-point favorites at the Raptors. That's an interesting spread.
Yeah, Raptors maybe looking at some Domantas Sabonis, people are saying. So maybe a little bit of a fuel under the fire for some of those forwards to keep their role, not get traded this deadline. Power rankings make it about right. Does make it a pick 'em though, so a little bit of value on the Timberwolves.
Rockets 6-point favorites at home against the Celtics.
I think this is a matchup problem for the Celtics. They don't have Vucevic yet. I don't think he's going to be taking a flight and lining up. And the Rockets, they have size. They slow it down. They play their style of basketball. The last time these two teams met in Boston, the Rockets won by 30. Wasn't even that close. I think they cover the 5.5 here.
Pelicans 4.5-point favorites at the Bucks. The Thunder at the Spurs again. These teams play like 100 times a season. The Thunder,
Right.
Mackenzie, 2.5-point favorites at the Spurs. They finally got their. They avenged the losses the last time they played San Antonio. Do they make it now 2 straight wins over the Spurs?
I think they do. And just look at what this line has done. The Thunder were 8.5-point road favorites versus this team earlier in the year. Now it's 2.5. I know there's no Jalen Williams, but Hartenstein's been back for a while. I think him getting back to top form might be more important than Jalen Williams at this point, especially in this matchup. I lean to the Thunder here.
You have the Grizzlies at the Kings, Sacramento, 2.5-point favorites. And oh, how convenient. The Cavaliers at the Clippers, with the Cavs a 1.5-point favorite. And you would assume James Harden playing in this game because, well, it's pretty easy for him to play for the Cavs in the Intuit Dome in the Clippers home arena.
Have we ever seen a guy get traded and play against the team the next day? But
well, yes,
I mean,
because,
I know
in baseball it happens all the time. In baseball, we see guys that just walk across the field and go into the other clubhouse because the general managers are there together and they have the conversations. Like, it literally happens all the time in baseball.
Just throw me a jersey.
Yeah, literally, it happens all the time.
Assuming Harden's playing, and I think you're right that he will play, I still like the Clippers. They're going to show him the toughness that he lacked and why he's out of town.
Okay. Right now up on FanDuel, it is the Cavs minus 1.5 in LA against the Clippers. All right, that'll wrap up the NBA conversation. Once again, the trade deadline is today at 3 o'clock Eastern time. If there's any big blockbuster deals that come down later on today, we'll, of course, address it on tomorrow's pod. Let's get to the NFL, Mackenzie. The Pro Bowl was last night. Congratulations, a lot of points. But I got a question off of Twitter that it provoked some thought, so I want to run it by you in regards to the Super Bowl. Well, the Pro Bowl flag football was last night, Mackenzie. Pro Bowl games, not like anybody cares. NFC wins 66-52. I know you were locked in. What did you think of the performances? Yeah. I mean, this is ridiculous. I'm not even going to waste any breath on the Pro Bowl anymore. I'm done. Okay. I'm done. Before we get to more Super Bowl stuff here, we have a coaching announcement as the Giants have hired Matt Nagy as their offensive coordinator. What do you make of this?
Someone put this on Twitter. I'm sorry I'm not giving you attribution, but it's pretty stark. When you look at yards per play, Fezzik's old YPP, who's down with YPP? The Chiefs were first, second, first, and then they got rid of Eric Bieniemy, brought in Matt Nagy, and they were like 9th, 20th, whatever. I don't know the positive case for Matt Nagy right now. I know he was coach of the year in 2018 before the ship burned and crashed in Chicago. It seems like the best of the rest. I mean, I don't know who else was out there, but yeah, not a very inspiring hire to me. When you look at those stats.
Yeah, I don't know if I want any part. I don't know if I'm saying that this is going to be good for Jackson Dart or bad for Jackson Dart. I just don't know. But hey, Matt Nagy, congratulations, new Giants offensive coordinator. All right, Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. Tomorrow, Mackenzie Rivers and I will be on Radio Row there in San Francisco getting ready for the game on Sunday. Current odds, they have stayed the same. Seattle is a 4.5-point favorite. Still 5 at the Westgate, though. Pretty interesting stuff there. And total is at 45.5, but 45 at Circa. So interesting that they are taking a stance there. I saw something online. I got to mention this. And kudos to, I wish I can give proper credit to whoever brought this up, that I saw it online. But it is an incredible thing to mention with Circa's line, right? So usually what you would see is the Circa and Westgate are two of the sharpest books in town. You would agree with that, right, Mackenzie?
Absolutely.
And if the Westgate's at -5, you would have thought that maybe Circa would go to -5, right?
You would think they would be the next book to go.
Yeah. Or maybe the first book to go. Like maybe Circa goes
No,
to 5
yeah, right.
and then
Like
yes.
if the board is 5.5 and one of those books moves to 5,
yes.
I wouldn't be shocked if an hour they're all 5.
Now,
In that hour, the first one outside of Circa or Westgate would be the other one.
Yes.
Because we often say sharp books in town say this, other books say that.
Yes. So just for a timeline perspective, on the 25th of January when the market opened, the Westgate opened at 4.5 and they stayed 4.5 until, a couple of days ago when they moved to -5, right? Circa, meanwhile, on the 25th of January, opened at -5 and then went to -4.5 the next day and has stayed at -4.5. Now, this is the point that was brought up online. And Jeff Benson from Circa, the director of operations, had actually tweeted this out. They took in the summer a Super Bowl exacta bet, a $100 wager on the Seahawks to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Or no, I think it's the other way around. The Patriots to beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Okay.
Was it like $1,000?
That would pay out. No, it's 300 something. It would pay out. It's over $300,000 that the person would win. Okay.
Right.
So think about this. Like, I know that that's not a big number for Circa Sports, but it is part of their liability now, which means that Circa is going to actually have, for the most part, the lowest number on the Seattle Seahawks because they want Seahawks bettors. Because they need to offset the liability on this one $300,000 wager. When it's not a $300,000 wager, it's a $100 wager that's going to win over $300,000 if the Patriots win this game. So think about that.
Wait a minute. If $100 was bet, if it was 300 to 1, it'd be 30,000. So it is like 3,000 to 1.
Yes. I'm sorry. I don't know what the odds are. But bottom line is, it's over. You're going to win like $310,000, whatever it is, right?
Right.
So think about this, and this makes sense. Go look at the odds boards everywhere. Everywhere you look, DraftKings, Seattle -4.5, -115. FanDuel, -4.5, -112. MGM, -4.5, -115. Circa's got -4, -110. And meanwhile, the Westgate's got -5. So you're seeing that Circa actually has the best odds on the Seahawks in town, because of the liability that they have on the Patriots winning this game.
Yeah, and it does show you that one bet can make a difference. It also shows you that there's not a huge appetite among pros for Seattle. Because if there was a lot of whales, or maybe not pros, but if there was just a huge amount of pro Seahawk money, they would all go to Circa, and they would push that up to 5. But with that exacta bet, and
maybe they have already, but like
there's enough Patriots money going the other way where that's fine with them. So I mean, they're a more public team, they're a more popular team in town and elsewhere. So that's balancing that out.
It's crazy. Yeah. So
do you like Seattle like me? I'm driving down to the Circa before I leave town for Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, yes, but remember my suggestion is I'm not laying -110 or I'm not laying -115 or even -110 on the -4.5, because 5 is such a dead number that I'd rather do a alternate spread at -5.5 on the Seahawks, because the likelihood of the game landing on the Seahawks winning by 5 is so minuscule that I'm going to save some juice. And
so there's been 60. There's been 60 Super Bowls. Guess how many landed 5 points separating the teams?
I'm going to say 0.
There was one. San Francisco versus Cincinnati.
Okay.
So 1 in 60 chance.
Yeah. Hey, Boomer. How about that? Yeah. Here's Jeff Benson on January 25th tweeted it out. The bet was placed on August 25th. Patriots to beat the Seahawks, 3,100 to 1. $100 to win $310,000. And they also, on September 22nd, took a 250-1 bet on the Patriots to win the Super Bowl.
Wow. They had him at 250 to the sharp books in town were very low on New England. But DraftKings had him high. Remember driving down to Arizona? The sharps were right on this one. The sharps and Vrabel knew all along.
Exactly.
I mean the squares.
Okay, this is the question that I got on Twitter last night. All right. Funhouse, which is a great account on Twitter. It's at Back After This. If you are a New York sports radio listener or fan, you know Funhouse's Twitter account, right? Highlights of Mike and the Mad Dog, all the video clips, and over recent years, he's kind of shifted to kind of tweeting out clips of Colin. But anyway, it's just a hilarious Twitter account if you're a fan, like I said, of sports radio and whatnot. So Funhouse has been following me for a while and tweeted at me last night and sent me a message. And this is a great question. Said, as a thought exercise, you have to bet the side and the total in the Super Bowl. You have to. Literally, this is the proverbial gun to head, right? You have to save your life. You have to bet this. But you don't need to go 2 for 2. The rule is you only have to avoid going 0 for 2. All right? So think about it. The gun to your head, save your life, whatever you want to say it, right? Life's on the line. All you have to do is just not go 0 and 2. What combination of bets is your best strategy for avoiding 0 and 2? He suggested New England plus 4.5 in the under. His thinking is that if New England doesn't cover, it's more likely because they don't score, rather than them by losing by 5 or more in a shootout. My response was I'd rather it be Seahawks minus 4.5 and the under, because I think there's multiple ways the Seahawks can cover. They can cover in a low-scoring game. They can cover in a high-scoring game. But I think the only way the Patriots cover is if it's a low-scoring game.
That makes sense. There's the whole underdog. There is the whole underdog and under trend or thought process, which is if we don't get a lot of points and it's 37 points total, very likely it's 2017. But I could see Seattle winning 27-3 like you can. I think I would have to pick Seattle just because of the 4, that's my favorite by far. I think it's 53% or so. And I think I would just take my what I think is going to happen in the game, and that's the over. I know there's the game theory of it, but I think I have a strong enough feeling on both sides where I would just take my favorite total and take my favorite side.
I mean, listen, we gave out our predictions on the Propapalooza pod yesterday, and we both had Seahawks covering, and we both had the game to go over. I had 27-20 was my final score prediction, so that would obviously mean...
I had 34-17.
And you had 34-17, so that was obviously the Seahawks covering and the game going over. But again, I'm thinking if I desperately have to avoid going 0 for 2, I think I'd go Seahawks and the under. But I think you have a better chance of going 2-0 if it's Seahawks and the over, maybe. I don't know. Because you understand what I'm saying? I don't think...
No, I think you do have a better chance of going 2-0.
Yeah, because I don't think the Patriots cover in a high-scoring game.
Right. I don't either.
So that's why I think you have a better chance of going 2-0 with Seahawks and the over, but you have a very good chance of splitting with Seahawks and the under, and you could still go 2-0 with Seahawks and the under. I don't think you go 0-2 with Seahawks and the under. I don't think the Patriots I don't think exactly, because the least likely outcome for me is the Patriots covering in this game being high scoring.
It sounds very like you really need to know this answer. Do you have some some liabilities we don't know about?
I mean,
some family members in a bunker somewhere.
I mean, they're here right now, Mackenzie. So I will I'm blinking twice. Okay, if you can see me, I'm blinking twice. All right, that'll wrap up the football conversation. Tomorrow, Mackenzie Rivers and I will be live from San Francisco. So we will do a short little pod for you guys to release in the morning, like we always do for, the morning pods. So you will get the, 5:45 a.m. Eastern time release of your Better Day Thursday morning pod, as well as the Thursday morning newsletter. But We will also be doing some live streams live from Radio Row. We'll have bonus podcast episodes. We'll have bonus videos that will be on our social media. So you want to make sure that you are following Better Day on YouTube. You want to make sure that you're following Better Day on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram as well. Our TikTok got banned. Sorry about that. I shouldn't have done those dances. And we will, for our Better Day premium members, we will be doing a live stream as well. So we'll do a live stream on like Twitter and YouTube and stuff, but we'll also be doing an exclusive live stream Q&A with some special guests that we might come about there on Radio Row in San Francisco. Who knows? Maybe someone related to Mackenzie Rivers. We'll find out. For Mackenzie Rivers, I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.